Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Rosie, and thanks for joining me on Elevate and Glow. Have you ever wanted connection, but feared what would happen if people truly saw the real you? Not the strong version, not the funny version, and not the helpful version. The vulnerable version. The exhausted version. The insecure version. The version carrying pain you rarely talk about. Because sometimes the deepest fear isn't rejection. It's visibility. Welcome back to Roots and Wings. Today's episode is called The Fear of Being Truly Seen. Because many people crave intimacy while simultaneously hiding the parts of themselves they fear might make them unlovable. And healing often requires learning how to exist without constantly emotionally performing for acceptance. Most emotional masks don't begin as deception. They begin as protection. At some point, many of us learned that showing certain emotions didn't feel safe. Maybe vulnerability was ignored. Maybe honesty was punished. Maybe your emotions felt too much for the people around you. So you adapted. You became easier to handle, more agreeable, more entertaining, more emotionally contained. And eventually, people began loving the version of you that felt safest to present. But inside, a quiet fear started growing. If people really knew me, would they still stay? That fear changes the way people connect. You begin editing yourself constantly. Hiding your needs, minimizing your emotions, avoiding difficult conversations, pretending you're okay when you're not. And over time, relationships can begin feeling emotionally lonely, even when you're surrounded by people. Because being loved while hidden doesn't fully feel like love. It feels conditional. Like people love the version of you they can comfortably consume, not the complicated human being underneath. I think a lot of people learned early in life that vulnerability carried emotional risk. If you opened up, you got dismissed, misunderstood, shamed, abandoned, or maybe manipulated. So your nervous system learned, hide first, protect yourself first. And honestly, that response makes sense. But eventually, emotional self-protection can become emotional imprisonment. You stop letting people fully know you. You stop asking for support. You stop expressing authentic emotions. And the painful part is, the more you hide yourself to avoid rejection, the more disconnected you often feel from genuine intimacy. Because intimacy requires visibility. Not perfection. Visibility. I remember realizing there were parts of myself I only showed in fragments. Pieces of pain, pieces of fear, pieces of honesty. Enough to seem emotionally open, but never enough to feel emotionally exposed. And underneath that was a deeper fear. What if people only love the edited version of me? That question can quietly shape entire relationships. But healing teaches something important. Real connection cannot exist where authenticity is absent. Healthy people do not need you to perform worthiness constantly. They don't require perfection to offer care. And one of the bravest things a person can do is slowly allow themselves to become emotionally visible again after years of hiding. Not recklessly, not all at once, but honestly. Telling the truth about your feelings. Admitting when you're struggling. Expressing needs without apologizing for having them. That kind of vulnerability feels terrifying at first, because your nervous system remembers every time openness once felt dangerous. But not every environment is your past. And healing involves learning how to tell the difference. You begin realizing that safe people do not weaponize your humanity against you. They don't punish you for being emotional. They don't disappear because you're imperfect. They don't require masks for connection. And slowly, the fear softens. You stop performing as much. You stop shrinking difficult emotions. You stop believing you must earn love by hiding the messy parts of yourself. And maybe that's what emotional freedom really is. Not becoming fearless, but finally realizing you deserve relationships where being fully human is allowed. If being truly seen feels scary, you are not alone. Many people learn to survive through emotional hiding. But you deserve relationships where authenticity feels safer than performance. You deserve connection that reaches beyond the mask. Thanks for listening to Roots and Wings. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone learning how to stop hiding themselves for acceptance. And remember, roots grow deepest where honesty can exist safely. And wings unfold strongest when we are no longer carrying the weight of pretending. Until next time, elevate and glow.